Welcome back again to Surfers Paradise Raceway for our coverage of round 6 of the 1987 Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship, and cars are on the grid for the Australian Series Production Championship. It's a qualifying round presented by Bridgestone here in Queensland, and that's the man that's been setting the pace in production car racing in Australia for the last couple of months. Albury's Brad Jones in car number 14, the Perrier Starion. And before we take a look at those cars, we've got plenty more motor racing action coming your way. As you know, next weekend, live from Sandown Park Raceway in Melbourne from 1 o'clock, 3 hours of exciting motorsport action exclusive to the 7 Network, where, of course, we'll profile the 7th round in this exciting championship series. And then coming up not too long after that will be, of course, the next round from Amaroo Park, and I think that's one that we look forward to, particularly on the tighter circuit there. Now, the cars are coming out of the dummy grid area at the moment, and slowly but surely we're bringing this race meeting back under control. Let me tell you that it is nice and out of control here at Surfers Paradise at the moment in terms of the organisation, which is very, very disappointing. Certainly for the crowd here and for all of our viewers across the network, it's not the way to run a race meeting. John Burke, car number 77, Toyota Supra. He was very quick at Amaroo Park a couple of weeks ago. There's car number 88, Ross Burbidge, one of the local drivers in the Mitsubishi Starion Turbo.
Very lucky to be there too, Neil. Ross had an engine problem yesterday, blew a piston, and it actually had to borrow an engine from Bradley Jones, an old engine, and he's robbed the engine of some replacement pistons to cobble together one good one. Missing from the grid at this stage is Kevin Bartlett. Probably caught out by the change in the programming.
I think we all are, but it's going to be an interesting race just the same. The other thing that's interesting, of course, is that Michael Preston is up on the front row in a Commodore alongside the two Starions, and Brad and KB both had a fantastic battle with him, and there's Lintott in one of the Commodores as well, and behind him one of the exciting little GTI Suzukis there, Pete, as well.
Yeah, little pocket rocket.
Aren't they ever? Little 1300cc, 4-cylinder, 16-valve twin cam engine, and they absolutely fly. And we believe that there are going to be more of those lobbing on the scene a little bit later in the year, and some tentative discussions that next year there may be some kind of a series for them.
Well, the old Laser series must be winding down. That model motor car no longer sold as a brand new production car, and I guess promoters are looking at a current motor car to replace them.
Good news for KB fans. The former Australian Formula 1 champion comes out of the dummy grid area at the back of the grid there, and he'll fill his position. Car number 9 alongside Bradley. Yesterday won the race by a mere car length from the youngster from Albury after a fantastic battle, and I can promise you some fireworks when these two guys go beneath the Dunlop Bridge, because yesterday they were spectacular. You wouldn't credit that a standard production road car could go so quickly. There's KB pulling in,
grinning like a Cheshire cat.
As always. He's one of the veterans, one of the great guys of Australian motorsport. Fantastic to spend some time with him and just look, listen and learn, pick up tips from the old maestro.
Learned his trade in a neck-snapping, tyre-smoking Maury Minor convertible.
Excitement-crazed motor car. John Burke sitting in behind them on the second row there, Pete.
That's the big improver, isn't it?
Is he ever? Like, he just did a fantastic job at Amaroo Park a couple of weeks ago in the Stallion Stable TWS production car series down south in Sydney, and he's been putting a lot of time and effort into developing the car. And the Brian Hilton Toyota, backed of course by Toyo, has really come on song this year, and particularly next year when these cars have to use unleaded fuel, that car is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Well, that's right. The Starions will lose some horsepower when they go back to a lower octane fuel, and that'll tighten up this racing. Starions just have a bit of an edge at the moment.
One of the things that I guess we probably expected by now were a more competitive bunch of cars in terms of the Commodore Turbos and the Mazda RX-7. I know that Gary Walden, for example, is probably watching our telecast this afternoon down at near Wyong. I don't know exactly how to pronounce the place that he lives at, but he's very disappointed that he's not taking his place on the grid. Unfortunately, they've had some overheating problems with the car when they've been testing, and they just don't seem to be able to get that problem sorted out.
No, it's a shame, because it has the speed, just doesn't have the durability.
I've just been down there talking to Brad Jones for a moment, and they didn't expect this race, as anybody else did, to go ahead on time, and he was sitting back out in the sun with a pair of shorts on, and all of a sudden they've called Group E drivers, get your gear on.
That sounds like Bradley, doesn't it?
Oh, dear me, it was a bit of a rush for these blokes to get suited up and get out onto the track.
A lot of the guys taking the opportunity to sun themselves. It's not exactly cool up here in Surfers Paradise. We've got to advise those down south in the grip of a cold snap. But here, it's not only warm, it's hot.
Beauty of coming to the Gold Coast. While these cars are on their warm-up lap, we might take a look at the way they'll line up for this race. 10-lapper, Australian Bridgestone Series Championship qualifier. Brad Jones has pole position in the Perrier Starion from Kevin Bartlett, position 2, car 9. Third position on the grid on the front row here is Michael Preston in the Turbo Commodore. Second row of the grid from position 4, John Burke, car 77, 126.6. Ross Burbidge, the Queenslander, car number 88, position 5. Position 6, car 2, Mark Gibbs in the Commodore, although I haven't seen Gibbsy out there yet. 7, Leo Gagan in the Starion. He's a charger. Car number 8, car 21, Phil Brock, split pin, Peter's younger brother, 127.90. From 9 is Greg East in the Commodore. And out of position number 10, car 16, Alan Fender from New South Wales, sign rider by trade, and a good one. Position 11, car 10, Ray Lintott, 126.9. And out of 12 will be car number 7, Ian Palmer in the Commodore. Top 12. The entry consists of 14 drivers, and the lap record is held by Brian Sampson in a Starion, 127.4. And judging by the qualifying time recorded by Bradley Jones, that is going to be blown into the weeds.
Is it ever?
Gary Whitaker in a Commodore and David Clement in a Suzuki make up the balance of the field. I noticed that that Toyota Supra of John Burke's is improving with every meeting these days, and there he is up in fourth qualifying position on the grid, and a car that just might be suited here at Surfers Paradise, I think.
We were having a bit of a yak about that while you're downstairs, Wilco, and it really is a charger, a 6-cylinder fuel-injected car. Doesn't have the advantage that the Starions or indeed the Turbo Commodores have of tweaking that old wastegate and getting a little bit of instant horsepower out of the turbo.
Well, he won't have the problem I had when I last drove mine in Queensland. I got booked.
Burke from the Central Coast of New South Wales, car dealer at Gosford. And he, like the rest of the field, in the starter's hands at the moment for a resumption of play, thank goodness. 10 laps, Australian Series Production Championship qualifying round presented by Bridgestone. Phil Brock just comes into position. That's Bradley Jones, picture of concentration. Member of the Dulux Auto Colour Works Mitsubishi Starion team. Standing by for a start. KB was a bit keen to get away, but had to pull himself up. But Bradley Jones gets a very good start on the inside. Indeed, Michael Preston as well. He goes with him on the outside, and those two have some advantage over KB, who now gets his straps together. And it's Preston from Bartlett, then Jones, Burke, and Phil Brock, with Burbidge, I think, on the inside of them as they plunge down to the right-hander at IPEC. And it looks like Bradley Jones muffed the start a little bit when he got down towards the Dunlop Bridge.
But the guy that really muffed the start, I think, and will incur a 1-minute penalty is KB.
He was a bit itchy, wasn't he?
He was. But what a blinder from Michael Preston. Another big improver in these ranks. A young driver from up near the New South Wales border, I think, and shows a lot of promise.
Yes, he's been working on this car pretty hard for, well, the last couple of months, really just trying to get the brakes right, trying to get the suspension right. There's no doubt about the horsepower from these cars.
They're the quickest car in a straight line, no doubt.
It's Preston, Bartlett, Jones, Burke, the top four, followed by Burbidge, Phil Brock,
John Burke. Oh, and a busy John Burke. Will he catch it?
Oh, well done. Cost him some ground. And a case of heart failure for a moment there, but he still holds on to fourth position.
He was vying for honours for the best save of the day, but our Gemini man still got that.
And here comes KB.
Bartlett attacking down the main straight. They cross the start-finish line. 1 lap completed. Preston still holds it, though, as they come through under the bridge.
It was a big tippy toe by KB that time, and here's Jones. He is ultra fast under the bridge. I said to him yesterday, you're not braking down there, you're just flashing the stoplights on them, and they're on and off, and through he went. Tends to make the car very unsettled when he comes out of the corner, but look at the gap that he's closed on KB.
Preston will probably be very, very competitive for a few laps, but then the heavier car will probably go into tyre problems. Tyres don't last very long around here.
Bartlett was saying yesterday that he expected his to get very second-hand after about the 5 or 6 lap mark, so it's not just a Commodore problem at the moment.
They're no longer cheap tyres either, these streetcar tyres. Around about $250 a piece, and that's certainly a lot more than the tyres you pay for your Falcon. Whoa, and it's all go here as KB sneaks up alongside the Durant car of Michael Preston, with Bradley sniffing around there in third spot.
Well, Bartlett working very hard on the back of the Commodore at the moment and looking for a gap, and if there's not one there, he'll force it. Now he goes for some rally cross. Brad Jones could come out very well out of this one. Jones on the outside. He's super quick down to the bottom of this straight. We'll see what happens. I tip they'll go 3 wide the way things are going. KB rubbing door handles with Preston. Out of my way, young fella. Now Jones on the inside. Let's see the manoeuvre. KB hits the brakes and through he goes. Well, he is very quick, and he's really out of shape.
Oh, good save, Bradley.
Excellent, but it's given Bartlett the lead in the race. Preston comes up, tries to get under Jones, but a miraculous job by Jones to recover there.
You've got to realise too that outfield is very, very sloppy under the green grass. It's very, very muddy. And Burke's sneaking up on this bunch too.
I know a good dry cleaner that Bradley might be able to visit after this one.
Nose to tail now, the top 4. Bartlett, Jones, Preston, Burke. And they've all had their misadventures. Bartlett and Preston together, door handle to door handle on the main straight. We saw John Burke almost have a lose on the first lap and regain it to hold down 4th spot still. And Brad Jones lucky to escape there coming out from under the bridge last time. Action aplenty here in the production car race. Qualifying race for the Australian Championship.
One of the things that I noticed in the cars when they were down on the dummy grid area is that Brad Starion, and I think I noted Michael Preston's car as well, they're not buffing their tyres nearly as abrasively as perhaps KB had. Bradley's profiling his tyre surface with much more meat on the outside, whereas KB was right down to almost a slick tyre, right down to the minimum, which is a 2 mil tread depth on these production car regulation tyres. So it'll be interesting to see who's come up with the best tyre equation that'll come out the right end of the race after 10 laps.
Preston seems to have gone off the boil. I think he's holding John Burke up now in 3rd and 4th positions, and the top 2, Bartlett and Jones, are getting away a little bit. Burke keen to go a little quicker, I think.
Interesting tyre battle with Bartlett, of course, with Bridgestone tyres, the major backer of the Mitsubishi Starion, and Brad Jones using BF Goodrich. Not quite sure what Michael's on, didn't take
Probably
a close enough look. Yeah, I think it was. And Berkey on Toyo.
Yes.
Kevin Bartlett spearing down the back of the course once more at Surfers Paradise. Coming up towards Kelly Springfield turn. And the hill, where the crowds will give this pair a cheer because they've provided plenty of action in the production car rounds this year.
It hasn't been confirmed that KB in fact scored a 1-minute penalty, but I guess the starter isn't exactly blind, and that would be a formality.
You probably just alerted him to it, and KB will bump you at the end of the day.
Jones just got the rear wheel off there. The tyre rubber is precious enough without shredding it away. Bartlett really settling in now. This is where he likes to be, and ever so smooth.
Bradley doesn't even like having a good time.
He just gets through there by the absolute skin of his shin. I mean, there is nothing left in that motor car. You'll notice when they go underneath the bridge, the front of Kevin's car dips longer and harder than Bradley's car, so he's having a more substantial pump of the brake pedal.
Of course, when you're in front, you've got to be a little more conservative just to protect yourself from any passing moves.
Well, you both recall the fantastic battle these two had at Amaroo Park, the Production Car Championship down there, and that particular day we ran a feature item on the two of them and the respect they've got for each other.
Yes, that respect will continue until one T-bones the other, and there will probably be a hasty reappraisal.
Kidding, Brad Jones isn't going to earn his money here this afternoon, because as soon as they drop the flag at the end of this race, he's going to have to jump out and into his other car for the touring car round.
He's a very, very busy young man, isn't he?
Sure is.
A man in a hurry, has ambitions of taking the international stage, and with his ability, I don't think that's out of the question.
He hasn't let up on Kevin Bartlett here yet, I'll tell you. Past the halfway mark in this race. Nose to tail still, Bartlett, Jones. Dropping off the next contenders, that's early leader Michael Preston, and John Burke hasn't been able to get around him in the Supra.
This will be interesting. Brad's got just a fraction more pace getting down here and has been braking a bit later, but KB's got his ground pretty well covered. But now Brad has a look on the inside, plunges through, Will he run wide getting out? He's missed the apex. It might just be the opportunity for Kevin to get back underneath him. Gee, this is a good scrap.
Brad's on the right side, though, for the next left-hander.
He's breaking late, Jones, isn't he? Yeah, Bartlett up over the strip. Driving hard, but brilliant manoeuvre. Here comes Bartlett again. This is great stuff. Bartlett and Jones side by side into the corner. Jones sticking with it on the outside. He's not going to give in. Bartlett just got his nose in front and has the lead once more.
See Kevin give Bradley the racing room then. He could have just let the car drift out. It's not quite kosher, but you can get away with it afterwards in the confrontation in the pits.
Oh, they're a couple of absolute experts. They really do know what they're doing. That manoeuvre that we saw at the right-hander at Kelly Springfield is as good as you see anywhere. The way KB went through and left some room for the other guy. It was good, fair racing. There's Michael Preston in third place. That doesn't look much through the eye of a 7 camera, but it's around about 400-500 metres perhaps back to Michael Preston. It's a very long straight here at Surfers Paradise.
A big slide from Kevin under the bridge then. I think those Bridgestones are starting to feel the pinch. Whoop. This will be a good one if it comes off, and it doesn't. He's gone a bit more.
Paid the penalty. Brave manoeuvre, but...
Bartlett would have the biggest grin of all time on at the moment. He was tickled pink yesterday when he got Bradley back after being beaten at Amaroo Park. He said that it's all very well for him to break like there's no tomorrow, but I get him on the other side. Biggest gap we've seen for the last couple of laps between these two cars now.
It won't stay that way for long. Jones clawing his way back, and this really is a great contest, as Neil said, between two outstanding drivers, the veteran Kevin Bartlett and the up-and-coming, the oh-so-talented Brad Jones.
It's the gap back to third. Michael Preston still got his hands full with John Burke. Toyota logo looming large in his rear mirror at the moment.
John hasn't quite got the straight line squirter in the Supra that the Commodore has, and this is where he has the problem. Going down the straight, he just doesn't have the gristle to pull out and pass.
Clinging on to the tail of Preston's Commodore. But really no opportunity there for him. Slight gap opens up, but he doesn't have the power to take advantage of it. Gets a wheel off the circuit there, and that's cost him, as you can see, 3, 4, 5 car lengths.
It doesn't take much, does it, Pete? You've spent a lot of time in these production cars, and you've only got to drop those couple of tenths and give the other guy of equal ability just that advantage, and it's very hard to make it back up.
Very, very hard. The Supra is a very good braking road car, as Gary would attest, I'm sure. And I'm surprised that Berkey hasn't been able to ping the Commodore under brakes. This latter stage of the race, when the brakes and the tyres go away a bit, maybe the opportunity will arise.
Jones here having another go at Bartlett. He's closed up that little bit of ground that he lost, using up all the racetrack, as you can see, with wheels up on the ripple strip. So's Bartlett. Around the 4X hill, the crowd's enthralled by this contest. And this is the kind of motorsport that brings them in, because it's good, clean racing, fierce racing, great rivalry, but run as clean as you will see a race run between this pair. Onto the main straight once more. Bartlett has got, for these two, a pretty comfortable situation here with 2 laps to go and a 2-length lead. And about 2 tenths left in his tyres.
Oh, goodness me, that's brave. See how the car just gets a bit of an understeer tendency now, and he wanders out wide. He's certainly throwing everything at Kevin.
The way he's trying so hard, it appears to me that perhaps Kevin hasn't, well, but perhaps Bradley doesn't know there's a 1-minute penalty applied to Kevin if the penalty has been applied. He certainly wants to win on the road, doesn't he, Bradley?
Yeah, Kevin wasn't rolling when the green light.
No, he did jump and then pulled up
He
short.
Yes. He did have the nose of the car across the line, perhaps.
Yeah, he certainly jumped a third of a car length.
It's better to get on with the race and win it outright than argue about it later, though. So I guess that's what Bradley's onto. And his brother Kim in the pits looking after things. They've got a radio, so he'd be well aware of what's going on, and knowing Kev, he'd be giving them wind-up, that's for sure.
Both these cars starting to dance around a bit in the tail now as the tyre wear really becomes a factor.
Yes, the two of them are adopting a different approach with their tyres and the way they profile them for the race, and it's ended up with nothing more than a bit of a feeler gauge between them.
Last lap.
I reckon that lap record of Brian Sampson's might have disappeared by now too, somehow.
Well, they've blitzed the next pair, Preston and Burke. Remember, though, it was nose to tail 4 cars there after the first 3 laps. And now this pair up front with a lead of 450, 500 metres over the next 2. They've just scorched away from them. And are there any other cars in the race? They're not in the race. They might be on the track, but they're not in the race.
Michael Preston's still holding up his end of the bargain in the Turbo Commodore. John Burke right behind, but this is the battle to the flag that everybody's craning their necks to see. And if it's possible, I think that crowd's actually got bigger as we draw closer to the start of the Touring Car Championship event. Massive crowd.
Every Dick Johnson fan in Queensland is here, and there are plenty of them. But this is the Bridgestone Australian Series Production Car Championship round, and Kevin Bartlett has the lead as they come round Nissan turn once more, with Brad Jones in pursuit and line up for the checkered flag after 10 laps, and it's been an enthralling contest, but Bartlett is going to carry the day unless Brad Jones can whip out and round him. And he can't do it, of course, and Bartlett is the winner. Brad Jones finishing in 2nd place. 3rd and 4th coming down to the line now. Preston's done a good job to hold out John Burke, so a race in 2 for 3rd as well, and Preston takes it. So good performance there by the leading division in the race. The rest of them distanced, and Kevin Bartlett emerging the winner. Brad Jones 2nd, Michael Preston 3rd on the Castrol scoreboard after the Bridgestone Australian Series Production Championship qualifier.